Have you ever felt lost in a conversation, even when words are in your throat, but you cannot say them? We often try to find big and impressive words to make others notice us. But the hard truth is, the more you try to show yourself, the more invisible you become. Do not let silence kill your relationships. The story of Kael, a young man who was once seen as the most boring person in the village, will reveal a secret that can completely change your way of communication. Watch until the end of the video. I promise you will get the ultimate weapon to make anyone listen to you and respect you even when you do not say a single word. In a valley covered with light fog where a small village was famous for the lively sounds of laughter and noisy markets, there was a young man named Kael who lived like a lonely island among many people. Kael was not lacking kindness. In fact, his heart was warm like a small fire in the cold winter night. However, his tragedy was this: he was a prisoner of his own language. Whenever someone came near him with a polite smile, Kael felt his chest tighten. Interesting stories and deep thoughts were stuck in his throat, leaving only dry and awkward words like yes, okay, or good. Kael's pain did not come from hatred of the villagers, but from their indifference. In their eyes, he was not bad, he was just a boring person. A faint shadow so small that his presence or absence did not change the life of the village. Kael wanted to do something great, to connect and to be understood. But the distance between what he wanted to say and what he could say was like a deep abyss. Every night, he looked at the starry sky and asked himself, why are words so difficult? This empty feeling slowly ate his self-worth, making him hide more and more into the dark forest, the only place that did not judge his silence. It was the quiet pain of a kind soul that lacked the bridge called communication to reach the outside world. In the deep despair of loneliness, Kael went to an old blacksmith workshop at the edge of the village where the sound of hammer hitting iron rang steadily like the heartbeat of the earth. The owner of the workshop was a strict man with sharp eyes, respected by the villagers, not only for his skillful hands, but also for his ability to understand people with just a few simple words. Kael stood there awkward among the flying sparks, trying to say hello, but once again, his throat became tight. The blacksmith stopped his work and looked through the young man's trembling outside. He did not teach Kael how to move his tongue or learn fancy words. He pointed at the hot red iron and said, "You cannot speak not because you lack words, but because your mind is too far from your body." This sentence felt like cold water poured into Kael's mind. The man showed him a serious mistake that Kael always made. When standing in front of someone, he was not truly present. While the other person was speaking, Kael was busy fighting with thoughts in his head. Are they laughing at me? What should I say next to look smart? Your attention is a gift, but you are throwing it into the trash of fear, the blacksmith said. Slowly, he explained that communication is not a game to calculate moves, but about full presence. Kael's problem was not about speaking skill, but about a broken connection. When his mind was filled with low self-confidence, Kael built a wall between himself and the world. This first hard, but eye-opening lesson helped Kael understand. To be heard, he must first learn to put away his worried ego and truly be present with the other person. After leaving the blacksmith workshop with many confused thoughts, Kael began to see the world with a new view. He went to the old banyan tree where the blind old woman, known as the firekeeper of the village, often sat. She could not see the light, but strangely everyone from playful children to serious elders came to her to share their feelings. Kael stood from a distance, holding his breath and watching how she connected with people. He noticed a surprising truth. The old woman never started a conversation by talking about her wisdom or her own experiences. She did not try to show that she was smart to impress others. Instead, she started with questions that touched the deepest feelings of the other person. When a tired hunter walked by, she did not ask how many animals he caught. She asked, "Your footsteps sound very heavy today. Is there a sadness on your shoulders, Kael?" suddenly understood the secret of the firekeeper. She did not use her eyes to see, she used her whole soul to listen. People came to her not to hear empty advice, but because they wanted someone to truly see them. In a world where everyone is busy talking about themselves, her sincere care was like cool water for tired hearts. This lesson completely changed Kael's old thinking. He understood that great communication is not the art of showing yourself, but the ability to create a safe space where others can be themselves. The secret is not in speaking well, but in a heart that can feel the emotions of others. With new lessons in his mind, Kael decided to enter the most difficult stage, turning theory into action. He went to meet Sana, a young girl known for her cold face and eyes full of caution. Sana was often avoided by the villagers because of her rough personality, but Kael understood that behind that shell was a soul that had never been truly heard. He remembered the blacksmith's words, "Do not speak to be heard, listen to understand." The meeting started in heavy silence. Instead of trying to find an impressive topic to break the ice, Kael just stood there fully present beside her. He did not prepare the next question in his head, and he was not afraid of looking awkward. He asked an open question, soft like a breath. "Sana, why do your eyes always look at the far horizon instead of the roads in the village?" Sana paused. Instead of empty advice or normal questions, she felt a pure attention from Kael. She started to speak at first with small words, then slowly sharing her feelings about her fear of being forgotten and her dream to escape from judgment. Kael did not interrupt or give solutions. He just listened with his whole body, sometimes gently nodding to show that he was there with her. For the first time in her life, Sana relaxed her tense shoulders. She realized she did not need to protect herself when facing someone who truly listens. Kael's presence created a quiet miracle that turned a cold person into a sincere friend. From this experience, Kael understood a hard truth: most of us fail in communication because we only wait for others to finish so we can speak. When you give up the desire to speak, you truly begin to be heard. After the meeting with Sana, Kael realized that a magical change was happening inside him. He returned to the blacksmith workshop not to ask more, but to confirm a new feeling. The blacksmith looked at him and smiled before giving the final lesson about the philosophy of silence. "My son, the one who talks the most is often the one with the least power. The one who truly listens is the one who controls the whole room." Kael began to understand that silence is not weakness or emptiness. It is a quiet strength, like a deep lake that reflects everything. He learned to value the silence between two people, moments that he once tried to fill with useless words because he was afraid of awkwardness. Now he understood that true silence is the highest sign of presence. It shows that two souls are truly together without masks, without acting. Kael's change could be seen in every action. Instead of lowering his head and avoiding people, he began to walk with confidence. When someone looked at him, he did not look away, but responded with warm and understanding eyes. He no longer struggled to find words to prove his value, because his calm presence already created a special attraction. The villagers started to see a very different Kael, no longer a boring and invisible young man, but a person with strong presence. He learned that real language is not in the voice, but in the ability to create a shared feeling between hearts through respectful silence. The quiet transformation inside Kael finally faced the hardest test when a strong conflict broke out in the center of the village. Under the old banyan tree, once a symbol of safety and peace, there were now loud screams and angry faces. A land dispute that lasted 3 days had divided the community into two sides. No one wanted to give up, and insults flew like sharp arrows. The tension was so high that even a small spark could destroy the unity of the village. In the middle of the out-of-control crowd, the blind old woman and the blacksmith nodded to each other. They did not step forward, but instead they signaled to Kael. With a strange calm, Kael walked into the center of the shouting crowd. He did not bring a loud voice, strong speeches, or sharp arguments to decide who was right or wrong. He just stood there, surrounded by negative energy, but his eyes stayed warm and steady. When the crowd slowly became quiet because they were curious about the boring boy from before, Kael did not start with judgment. He slowly walked to each side, looked into their eyes, and asked powerful open questions. "I see anger in your eyes. But behind it, what is the biggest fear you carry? If this conflict does not end, are we protecting this land for our children or teaching them to hate their neighbors?" Kael did not rush to fill the silence after his questions. He used his silence to create a big space for all the strong emotions. One by one, people began to speak, not to insult, but to share their worries about the future food and family honor. Kael listened with full presence, without choosing sides, without judging. He acted like a mirror, helping them see the truth in their own anger. In less than 1 hour, the power of understanding did what 3 days of arguments could not. People started to shake hands, and hate slowly changed into understanding. Kael solved the crisis, not by the power of words, but by the great power of true listening. As the evening shadows grew long under the old banyan tree, the quiet peace once again covered the village. Kael walked among people whose eyes were no longer indifferent or disrespectful, but full of deep respect. He realized that true communication is never a performance on a stage to show skills or impress others. It is an invisible but strong bridge, built carefully every day with honesty and sincere care. Kael today was no longer a shy young man with words stuck in his throat, but a man who controlled his life by controlling his presence. The final message Kael wanted to share is this: the ability to make others feel seen and heard is not a special gift and not a natural talent of talkative people. It is a choice we must make every morning when we meet another person. Do we choose silence to understand, or do we choose to speak, to dominate? Do we choose full presence, or let our mind wander in selfish worries? The modern world is full of loud voices, noisy posts, and endless arguments on social media. But what people truly need now is not more mouths that can speak, but more open ears and kind hearts. Do not only learn how to speak well, learn how to make your soul a peaceful place for others. Start today with a sincere question, with a non-judging look. Because in the end, the most valuable gift you can give to someone is your full attention. Thank you for spending your valuable time following Kael's journey of transformation. I hope this story has given you a new view about the power of silence and understanding. Do not let this knowledge stop at listening. Turn it into action today. If you find this video helpful, please press like and subscribe to the channel to share meaningful values together. Do not forget to leave a comment about a moment when you truly felt understood. See you again in the next journeys.